Scottish English refers to the varieties of English spoken in Scotland. The main formal variety is called Scottish Standard English or Standard Scottish English. Scottish Standard English may be defined as the characteristic speech of the professional class and the accepted norm in schools. IETF language tag for Scottish Standard English is in Scotland. In addition to distinct pronunciation, grammar and expressions, Scottish English has distinctive vocabulary, particularly pertaining to Scottish institutions such as the Church of Scotland, local government and the education and legal systems. Scottish Standard English is at one end of a bipolar linguistic continuum, with focused Broad Scots at the other. Scottish English may be influenced to varying degrees by Scots. Many Scots speakers separate Scots and Scottish English as different registers depending on social circumstances. Some speakers code switch clearly from one to the other, while others style shift in a less predictable and more fluctuating manner. Generally, there is a shift to Scottish English in formal situations or with individuals of a higher social status. Background: Scottish English results from language contact between Scots and the Standard English of England after the 17th century. The resulting shifts to English usage by Scots speakers resulted in many phonological compromises and lexical transfers, often mistaken for mergers by linguists unfamiliar with the history of Scottish English. Furthermore, the process was also influenced by interdialectal forms, hypercorrections and spelling pronunciations. History. Convention traces the influence of the English of England upon Scots to the 16th century Reformation and to the introduction of printing. Printing arrived in London in 1476, but the first printing press was not introduced to Scotland for another 30 years. Texts such as the Geneva Bible, printed in English, were widely distributed in Scotland in order to spread Protestant doctrine. King James VI of Scotland became King James I of England in 1603. Since England was the larger and richer of the two kingdoms, James moved his court to London in England. The poets of the court therefore moved south and began adapting the language and style of the verse to the tastes of the English market. To this event McClure attributes the sudden and total eclipse of Scots as a literary language. The continuing absence of a Scots translation of the Bible meant that the translation of King James into English was used in worship in both countries. The Acts of Union 1707 amalgamated the Scottish and English parliaments. However, the church, educational and legal structures remained separate. This leads to important professional distinctions in the definitions of some words and terms. There are therefore words with precise definitions in Scottish English which have either no place in English English or have a different definition. Phonology. The speech of the middle classes in Scotland tends to conform to the grammatical norms of the written standard, particularly in situations that are regarded as formal. Highland English is slightly different from the variety spoken in the Lowlands in that it is more phonologically, grammatically, and lexically influenced by Gaelic substratum. Similarly, the English spoken in the northeast of Scotland tends to follow the phonology and grammar of Doric. Although pronunciation features vary among speakers, there are a number of phonological aspects characteristic of Scottish English. Scottish English is a rhotic accent, meaning R is typically pronounced in the syllable coda. The phoneme R may be an alveolar approximant, as in received pronunciation a general American, but speakers have also traditionally used for the same phoneme a somewhat more common alveolar tap or, now very rare, the alveolar trill. Although other dialects have merged non-intervocalic before R, Scottish English makes a distinction between the vowels in fern, fur, and fur. Many varieties contrast O and before R, so that horse and horse are pronounced differently. Or and are contrasted so the shore and shore are pronounced differently, as a poor and poor. R before L is strong. An epenthetic vowel may occur between R and L, so that girl and world are two-syllable words for some speakers. The same may occur between R and per meter, between R and N, and between L and per meter. There is a distinction between with and HW in word pairs such as which and which. The phoneme X is common in names and in SSE's many Gaelic and Scots borrowings, so much so that it is often taught to incomers, particularly for ch in lock. Some Scottish speakers use it in words of Greek origin as well, such as technical, patriarch, etc. L is usually velarized except in borrowings like Glen, which had an unvelarized L in their original form. In areas where Scottish Gaelic was spoken until relatively recently and in areas where it is still spoken, the velarization of L may be absent in many words in which it is present in other areas, but remains in borrowings that had velarized L in Gaelic, such as loch and clan. P, T, and K are not aspirated in more traditional varieties but are weakly aspirated currently. The vowel length is generally regarded as non-phonemic, although a distinctive part of Scottish English is the Scots vowel length rule. Certain vowels are generally long but are shortened before nasals and voiced plosives. However, this does not occur across morpheme boundaries, so that crude contrasts with crude, need with need, and side with side. Scottish English has no, instead transferring Scots U. Phonetically, this vowel may be pronounced or even, thus pull and pull are homophones. Cot and court are not differentiated in most Central Scottish varieties, as they are in some other varieties. In most varieties, there is no A distinction, therefore, bath, trap, and palm have the same vowel. The happy vowel is most commonly E, but may also be or I. Theta S is often used in plural nouns where Southern English has THZ with and boot are pronounced with theta. In colloquial speech, the glottal stop may be an allophone of T after a vowel, as in. These same speakers may drop the G in the suffix ing and debuccalize theta to in certain contexts, may be more open for certain speakers in some regions, so that it sounds more like. Other speakers may pronounce it as, just as in many other accents, or with a schwa-like quality. Others may pronounce it almost as in certain environments, particularly after with and HW. Scoticisms. Scoticisms are idioms or expressions that are characteristic of Scots, especially when used in English. They are more likely to occur in spoken than written language. Examples include, what a dry day, meaning, what a dull, miserable, overcast day. I'm feeling quite drowsy, meaning, I'm feeling quite thirsty. That's a right scunner, meaning, that's extremely off-putting. It's a fair way to sky from here, meaning, it's a good distance to sky from here. The picture still looks squint, meaning, the picture still looks askew, awry. You'd better just call canny, meaning, you'd better just go easy, don't overdo it. His face is tripping him, meaning, he's looking fed up. Just play the daft laddie, meaning, act ingenuously, feign ignorance. You're looking a bit peely-wally, meaning, you're looking a bit off color. That's out with my remit, meaning, it's not part of my job to do that. It depends on what the high hygienians think, meaning, it depends on what the heads of the organization, management think. I'll come round the back of 8, meaning, I'll come round just after 8 o'clock. We're all Jock Tamson's bairns. Stock phrase meaning, none of us is better than anyone else. I kent his faither. Stock phrase meaning, he started off as humbly as the rest of us before achieving success. You're standing there like a stookie, meaning, you stand there as if incapable of stirring yourself. He's a right sweetie wife, meaning, he likes a good gossip. I didn't mean to cause a stooshy, meaning, I didn't mean to cause a major fast commotion. She was a bit pitoot when I told her, meaning, she was a bit upset when I told her. I'm swithering whether to go, meaning, I'm in two minds, uncertain as to whether to go. Ack, away ye go. Stock phrase meaning, oh, I don't believe you. Scoticisms are generally divided into two types: covert Scoticisms, which generally go unnoticed as being particularly Scottish by those using them, and overt Scoticisms, usually used for stylistic effect, with those using them aware of the Scottish nature. Lexical Scottish English has inherited a number of lexical items from Scots, which are comparatively rare in other forms of Standard English. General items are we, the Scots word for small, ben for child, bonny for pretty, attractive, braw for fine, muckle for big, spale for splinter, snib for bold, pinky for little finger, janitor for school caretaker, out with, meaning, outside of, cowp for tipper spill, fankle for tangled mess. Kirk for church has parallels in other Germanic languages. Examples of culturally specific items are hogmanay, caber, haggis, bothy, scone, oatcake, tablet, roan, tukta, ned, numpty and landward. It's your shot for it's your turn, and the once notorious but now redundant tours. The diminutive ending ie is added to nouns to indicate smallness, as in laddie and lassie for a young boy and young girl. Other examples are Perry and Sweetie. The ending can be added to many words instinctively, e.g., Ben can become Bernie, a small shop can become a wee shoppy. The use of how, meaning why, is distinctive of Scottish, Northern English and Northern Irish English. Why not is often rendered as how no. There is a range of legal and administrative vocabulary inherited from Scots, e.g., depute, dpjut, for deputy, proven, proven, for proved, interdict for injunction, and sheriff substitute for acting sheriff. In Scottish education, a short leet is a list of selected job applicants, and a remit is a detailed job description. Provost is used for mayor, and procurator fiscal for public prosecutor. Often, lexical differences between Scottish English and Southern Standard English are simply differences in the distribution of shared lexis, such as stay for live. Grammatical, the progressive verb forms are used rather more frequently than in other varieties of Standard English, for example with some stative verbs. The future progressive frequently implies an assumption. In some areas, perfect aspect of a verb is indicated using be as auxiliary with the preposition after and the present participle. For example, he is after going instead of he has gone. The definite article tends to be used more frequently in phrases such as I've got the cold, the flu, he's at the school, I'm away to the kirk. Speakers often use prepositions differently. The compound preposition off of is often used. Scots commonly say I was waiting on you, which means something quite different in Standard English. In colloquial speech, shall and ought of scarce, must is marginal for obligation, and may is rare. Many syntactical features of SSE are found in other forms of English, e.g., English language in England and North American English. What age are you? For how old are you? My hair is needing washed, my hair needs washed. For my hair needs washing, or my hair needs to be washed. I'm just after telling you, for I've just told you. Amnti invited, for am I not invited? Note that in Scottish English, the first-person declarative imnt invited and interrogative amnti invited are both possible. Contrast English language in England, which has aren't I, but no contracted declarative form. Bibliography.